live at the Colorado State Capitol at opening day, first day of session out here. And we are out here on January 14th, 2026. This is the 2026 session. We're here to do some live streams. We're here to do some interviews, talk to some representatives, as well as get people's take on the bills that are being introduced. So stay tuned. We're going to be out here all day. But first, I wanted to bring on one of our leading experts in AI. We have Edward Lael here. And Edward is the founder of HUN, the Human Union News Network. That's the Human Union News Network. And you see, Edward has been very outspoken about AI and the dangers around AI, how it can be very useful, but there need to be protections because there's a lot of dangers around it. So I wanted to bring Edward on today because one of the things that we're going to be talking about is the Colorado Artificial Intelligence Act. As you may know, this was something that was already passed into law. I believe it was in the 24 session, and it has been put on hold first until February, and then now until I believe June 30th. So we have this bill on hold. They're going to talk about possibly amending it as we go into session and doing something to amend this bill because there's been a lot of contention and debate around how this could affect businesses or just AI business in general. So I don't know much about this, but I know Edward does. I wanted to bring him on to talk about it. So Edward, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about HUN, why you started it, and why you think it's important.
Sure. Yeah. So, like you said, my name is Edward. I'm the founder of the Human Union News Network. My goal is to basically make information accessible to the everyday average person out there that may not know the implications of the technology, such as artificial intelligence and these decision making softwares that are already deployed in our nation, in the world. And what really brings it down to the heart of why I did this, why I wanted to step forward. I'm a software developer, and I've already felt the impacts of artificial intelligence taking jobs away. I've seen real world examples. I've seen people struggling in life, not understanding the implications of artificial intelligence and how adopting these systems without any sort of regulation or any sort of um, really guidance, as well as education to the general public, how that's dangerous and how that can really ruin lives. So, my goal is to kind of bridge the gap, make it clear so that people that may think, oh yeah, I've got Chat GPT and that's great. I can make a picture, of a cat doing a silly dance. Well, that's not really all these things do. And that's just a small portion of it. So that's who we are, just bringing education to the world.
Awesome. So we're going to try to bring Edward on quite a bit over this year, see if we can talk a little bit more about AI in general and the effects it has on civilization. So you've heard about the new Colorado AI law, the Artificial Intelligence Act. I know you read through it a little bit. So this new AI law going forward has been delayed due to bipartisan concerns. The act implementation's been pushed back till I think June 30th, like I said. So you read through this. What do you think people in Colorado are so concerned about, Eddie, and what might they want to amend out? Or what are your overall thoughts on this act?
I think that overall, it's not really a regulation per se. The Colorado Artificial Intelligence Act, what it does is promotes transparency and enforces transparency on the developers and product owners or companies. And so when it was great foresight, and Colorado is one of the first states to actually come forward with legislation to um, to do anything with artificial intelligence reality. And I think what the primary concern was with Colorado was most likely the idea that certain protected classes would be discriminated against or promoted in society. And I think that that's a very valid thing to be concerned about. That being said, just acknowledging the fact that these things happen really doesn't do anything to prevent this bill has nothing to do with prevention of discrimination in any sort of way. It just makes it so the companies and the developers are held accountable to essentially make it visible that that's what they're doing.
I see. So it seems to me like this bill could go a lot further, maybe as far as actually regulating set algorithmic limitations as opposed to just transparency regulations. So, do you feel this bill even goes far enough to address the biggest problems in AI?
I don't think this bill even remotely touches any of the major problems. I think this bill, honestly, um, is a way to kind of say, hey, we're doing something about it, not necessarily actually doing something about it. You got to understand there's big money tied to these companies, and the governments of states and the legislatures, they want the money. I mean, we don't want to hide from the fact that these people want that money. And to be honest, artificial intelligence is a great tool and it should be used. Um, I don't believe that a state a state legislation is something that's going to be able to protect the American people from. Uh, um, and I do give me 1 second here. I apologize. Uh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stop it. But what I do think is people need to understand that there needs to be federal legislation that is passed that protects all walks of life and not just state by state thing. That's what I think.
So we know with the passing of the big beautiful bill that there was some language in there written about AI funding and regulation. Can you tell us more about that?
So here's the problem that comes. Uh, Colorado passed this bill um, that would promote the companies to actually bring forth, what they're doing, how they're just would be discriminating against the people, and that is a great thing. But the problem with it is it's not enforceable. States are not prevented by the big beautiful bill to create laws that limit or any way hinder the advancements of artificial intelligence or companies that work with those products. It doesn't say that they can't make the laws, but it does say that they cannot enforce laws that would, in other words, slow down the production or make any kind of roadblocks, or guidelines of any sort of way. And now the thing about this is, it's very important to understand that although that's a very dangerous thing and how loose the language is, it's also not a bad idea. I don't necessarily um, disagree that there should be a level of, I would say, that there needs to be federal legislation and not statewide, because you're going to have a situation where a company, maybe they build a product that's really great and maybe their product's able to be used in 30 states, but in those other 20 states it's banned because it doesn't meet some red tape that was lined out. This can be very problematic for companies, and it can force them to want to go elsewhere to develop their products, such as China, for instance. And that's just something that Honestly, we don't want China winning the race. At the same time, it would be better if the world could come together and there wouldn't be a race at all. But the big beautiful bill, it does limit what states can do. They can't make any laws that would in any way at all cause any kind of time delay or essentially any roadblock to developing these systems. And it's dangerous because it's a very loose language. There's not really an exact language out there. And there are no other legislations in place that would make that okay. Like, for instance, a federal ban on certain types of discriminations that artificial intelligence could be doing. And so that's really the key is it needs to be more of a discussion of how can we have a federal ban on certain things that would
Okay, I'll catch up with you.
promote the idea of a safe and fair deployment of artificial intelligence rather than individual states taking that because it's just not good for business, uh, and that's just the reality of it.
So I see. So it sounds like that what was put into this big beautiful bill might not be so beautiful after all, as far as the AI um, regulations and the AI things that are going to take place around the funding to stop the states from enforcing the laws they've passed. Do I have that right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. And also another key thing to understand is this the language in the bill says that this will last for 10 years, for a decade. And I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but artificial intelligence has increased at such a rapid pace that even the developers are absolutely mind boggled that this is even able to be happening. We already have things, jobs have been taken, people have been replaced, and so yeah, I mean, 10 years, nobody will be able to do anything except for go along with the flow, and that's just too loose, and it's not acceptable.
Well, and I'm really thankful for people like you and organizations like yours because like even with the big beautiful bill, there's a lot of great things in there. But just like with any bill, we see things that get put in that might slip under the radar, people don't know a lot about, or they might get passed through that affect something that's very grandiose. So we need to really be paying attention to what's going through. We need people to highlight it like you are. Edward Lale, Human Union News Network. Do you want to give a shout out to where people can find you, Edward?
Sure, yeah, you can find me on X. That's where primarily at this point in time I am operating, but I am on also Facebook and Instagram. The ats are all the same. It's at Human Union News. So you can find me on all three of those platforms. Also, I do have a website. It is HUNN.live. HUNN.live. And right now I'm posting all my articles there and I'm sharing those to social media. I also will be having a store soon to hopefully bring in some money so that we can grow the reach of our platform and just really help people to understand the dangers that we face in this future. Because the reality is, folks, this is a dangerous, dangerous path we're walking down. And if we're not educated on the pitfalls, we're surely to fall right in them.
Well, there's been a lot said here, but it sounds like there's some federal regulations that are needed. So, on a last note, Eddie, if you could address Washington right now, what would you say they need to put in place first federally to regulate AI or put some protections around it?
I believe that in order for artificial intelligence to be deployed in a fair and safe manner, there needs to be an accountability for corporations that they cannot just go. The main problem is people in their jobs and companies abandoning a human workforce and going solely artificial intelligence, saving themselves a lot of money, but putting a lot of people out of work in the process. This cannot happen. People need to work. And even if you gave them a universal income where they didn't have to work to earn it, people need a purpose in life. And we see with people who retire, they might retire early, that they have plenty of money, but yeah, they go back to work because they need purpose in their life. To take that away from them is to take away their dignity. So there needs to be some sort of regulation that would prevent a company from agreed upon percentage of humans working in their industry and certain and the details of that would need to be discussed and agreed upon. We also don't want to take away from a free commerce and capitalism. So that is kind of a line that we kind of have to balance and really discuss as a nation where we want to go, how we want to handle this, and what's fair for the Bob Evan or the John Smith of the world or the Lori Sumick. What's going to be good for them as well. It's not all about money. If there's no happiness and you're rich, nobody's going to buy your products. If nobody has a job, nobody will buy your products. And if nobody buys your products, then you wasted all your money on artificial intelligence and you have no company. And that's just the reality of it. So we do have to find a balance that's fair. And I think that is the what how we need to go forward with artificial intelligence and federal legislation.
Any last thoughts, Eddie?
Maybe placing something in there that artificial intelligence is not allowed to make decisions that are life threatening would be also a good thing to, yeah, just a thought. But no, that would be it. I'm proud to see that Colorado is leading the way with the attempt to try to put in safeguards. I'm from Colorado, so that does make me happy to see. However, I don't think they're doing it in the right way, and I think there needs to be real discussions on both sides of the aisle.
And that's part of the reason we're out here today. We're going to see if we can go talk to some representatives. You might have just seen Representative Ken DeGraff just came and said hi. We're going to catch up with him. We'll see if we can catch up with Representative Brianna Tatone, who's been very outspoken about this AI uh, act. So if you would please hit that like and subscribe button. Please go and follow Human Union News Network. After all, we all are human, and this is a bipartisan issue. So stay tuned today. We're going to be going live again here in a couple hours. We're going to be going live at the end of the day, and we're going to be out here talking to people, shooting video, doing interviews, and asking the hard questions. This is Jordan Baldwin with First Amendment Media. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you.